thank you for your time. And don't worry, I won't talk too long, maybe just 1 hour or so. No problem. Yeah, so I will talk about when a Java guy goes Ruby. So I am a Java guy at first, and when I joined the company here, they are using Ruby, so I start to have to use Ruby too. No choice. I didn't choose; it was imposed on me. So my name is Jonathan Bardin, and you can contact me on jonathan@tinypulse.com. So we'll first by a bit of history of Ruby and Java. So first, do you know who is it? Who is her? Sorry. Okay, you have to try, or I don't skip this one. No idea? She is the first programmer. Who knows who is the first programmer? She's often referred as the first programmer. Any name? So this is Ada Lovelace. Anyone know Ada as a programming language? Yeah. So it's named after her. So she was English woman, I think, the daughter of Lord Byron also, and from the 18th century, and she's often referred as the first programmer. So yeah, we all do our job now. So a bit of history about Java. So Java, it has been created 20 years ago, and the first version was out in 1996, and it has been created by James Gosling. This is Ryan Gosling. James Gosling, not mistake. Programmer, actor, not the same. So, what was the influence behind Java? And there is several languages that have influenced Java. One is Ada 83. 83 is for the version, so it's one of the first versions of Ada. C++, Modular, Mesa, Objective-C. So yeah, Objective-C was the influence of Java. So it's interesting to see that a lot of the influence of Java is object-oriented programming language. And Java, it has influenced some language like Scala, Clojure, JavaScript, PHP, Python, and the newer version of Java. So, no big question. Do you know how old is Ruby? Have you an idea? Would you say it's older than Java or more recent?
More recent.
Who think it's more recent? No? Yeah, it was a big surprise for me too. I thought it was more recent, but no. It's actually the first version of the Ruby, the version 1.0, sorry, not the first version, but the first stable version. It was created in 1995 and by Yukihiro Matsumoto. So this is Matsumoto from Bleach, Matsumoto from Ruby. Okay? Not the same also. So what was the influence? The language that influenced Ruby? So Ada, C++ also, so you see it in Smalltalk. So this language is quite similar to the influence of Java, but there is also some language like FL or Lisp that are functional language. So Ruby, there is a both influence, object-oriented language and functional language. And if you know Ruby, you can see that very clearly. And it has influenced some language like Julia, Clojure, CoffeeScript, which is like JavaScript, but Ruby style. New or Swift, for Apple development. Okay, so both language. So do you know this curve? It's a height curve. It's I think it's made by Gartner or something like this. And it's just to say, when something is new, usually it will follow this curve. So at first, you will have very high expectation for this. Oh, this can solve everything. And then after a few years, the disillusion, right? You're running to the point in, this is crap, just forget about this stuff, it was a hype, now it's over. And then, after a few more years, usually that's where it starts to be interesting, it's where you can be productive with it. And so, both languages, now Ruby and Java, we can say that they pass the hype and the disillusion, right? They are both languages that are, kind of safe. So yeah, maybe the reason why a lot of people think that Ruby is newer, more new than Java is because of phrase. Because Ruby a phrase that is maybe one of the most, if not the most Ruby framework used, was out only in 2005, so only 10 years ago. That's why we all think Ruby is new, but no, Ruby is not new, it's Rails that is slightly newer. But even Rails, it passed the hype. So now we'll talk about some little difference between Java and Ruby. So apart from the logo, maybe the biggest difference is dynamic typing versus static typing, process versus thread for the concurrency model, and convention over configuration. So, well, even so, it's a big difference. Now it's hard to fade away because newer version of Ruby or new runtime of Ruby, like JRuby, that is based on actually the JVM, or the other one that is based on C++, I think. They also support a better concurrency model, but it's not yet that much used. Dynamic typing and static typing, yeah, it's a big difference, and that's often why at first Ruby, maybe it scared people away because it's like a scripting language. You don't have tip safety, you don't have strong type. So there is a lot, it can potentially cause a lot of bug at runtime. Okay. And now convention versus configuration. So if you know a bit Rails and other frameworks like Sinatra, you see that you have to follow some convention, naming convention. For example, you will name your one method this way so that the framework can call it. In Java, for a long time, the preference was configuration. So you end up having this big XML file with a lot of configuration. But also, it's not fully true because there is some newer framework for Java, like a Play framework, or a Ninja framework, which is also for web development, that also follow convention more than configuration. So this difference, at least this one, it tends to fade away. So for the more maybe challenging difference, right? So Ruby, it has the reputation of being slow to run, and Java fast to run, right? It's faster. And a lot of people say it's faster to write Ruby, you will be more productive, and it's slower to write Java, right? So actually, I tend to agree with both. It's true when you look at the benchmark that Ruby is slower, but sometimes you don't care if it's slower, right? As long as your server replies fast enough, that's good for you. And it's true that a lot of developers I know, when they move to Java, from Java to JavaScript or Ruby, because the language is more flexible, they are being more productive. You can see that you can be more expressive with Ruby, with fewer lines of code. You can do more than in Java. I think also that it's true, but it's tend to be a bit reduced now since Java 8 with the Lambda, and there is also like new language like Scala that try to address this problem of Java. But basically, I tend to agree that it's true. What do you think? Do you think it's? Do you think Ruby is very slow, or it's just a bad reputation? Who think Ruby is slow? One guy over there. Yeah. Yeah, it's now with maybe with JRuby that is based on the Java virtual machine. It's some runtime can be faster. Okay. So that's about the general opinion, and now I will give you my personal opinion on that. So the good, what I liked when I started programming with Ruby, that is so flexible, right? I can do a lot of stuff with few lines of code. With Java, it's a bit frustrated sometimes. The language itself, you have to write so much line, make your interface. But yeah, so I end up being more productive. I invite you to read Martin Fowler's blog from Transcomos. They made a study among their developers how they feel they were more productive with Ruby or Java, and they have some nice statistics. It's interesting to look at. And yeah, I really like Active Record. It's a very good object, very good ORM. So that's something I really appreciate with Ruby. That is very meta. You can manipulate your class at runtime, so that's very powerful, but at the same time it can be a bit dangerous. And Rack, especially the web server interface. So Rack, it provides a web server interface that allows for people that want to implement web server for Ruby. They will follow this interface, and then for you in your application, you can substitute one server to another. It's like magic, right? It works very well. So it's one of the best, beautiful way to implement an interface I have seen. It's Rack itself. For the bad, I think the concurrency model, especially now where the asynchronous application, it's become something very important, and the concurrency models in Ruby is not very, it's not yet, there is not yet nice things, or like we have the future in Java or Aka framework, and in Ruby it's lacking a bit, I think. And that there is no just-in-time compiler. So one thing is that Java, it also had the reputation at first of being slow, but thanks to the just-in-time compiler, it really improved the performance. And so it's something that is still missing for Ruby. But again, now with JRuby and other runtime, they try to address that. But in the main Ruby runtime, unfortunately, no just-in-time compiler yet. And because it's dynamic typing, I kind of miss the interface-based programming. I think it's a bit, I am not yet used to write interface in Ruby. But Rack is a good example of such that it's possible to do it. And the ugly, again, it's the fact that it's very flexible and that you can easily manipulate the class at runtime, that it's meta. It's also, it's dangerous, right? You can do good things, but you can also do bad things with it. So I will finish with some little code that I hope will trigger some discussion. One is from Alan Kay. Alan Kay is one of the founder of object-oriented programming. He was working at Xerox Park. In the time was invent everything, and notably with Smalltalk and Sketchpad, I think. So he said that I'm not against types, but I don't know of any type systems that aren't a complete pain, so I still like dynamic typing. So even so, static typing or strong type are interesting, it's true that it's often a pain, so interesting. Advocate of dynamic typing. So I like this one too. Unix was not designed to stop its user from doing stupid things, as that would also stop them from doing clever things. So I think it's very true for Ruby. It's very easy to do stupid things, and it can be very dangerous to manipulate the class at runtime. But you can also do some very elegant stuff. So yeah, Ruby is powerful, but it's a double-edged sword, right? The last quote is, in the real world, one big split is between people who use symbolic debuggers and people who use print statements. So again, with dynamic typing, you will do even more, you will have even more problem at runtime, right? So you have to use the debugger. Don't use puts or prints, use the debugger. So it will make your life more easy. So just use the debugger, that's my advice. And that's about it. Thank you. Any questions, or you want to react to something I said?
Okay. Any guys here you used Ruby before? Ruby? Okay, so you use Ruby the first time, or you switch from other language to Ruby?
Yeah, at first time I use C++ and have another project that use Ruby.
Oh. So do you think you are faster with C++?
Yes, I think when I code in Ruby, it makes me like better.
Faster? Yeah. More productive? Yeah.
I am a Java developer and about years ago. And really, sometimes we are feel very frustrated with the Java code because we have to manually do mostly everything. From the create class, use some create class, or use some factory builder method to just do some small thing and fast can help us to reduce our code. And I believe that Ruby can do it with a few line code.
Yeah, I think you will be more flexible, but again, it can be numbers too. So when you code in Ruby, don't be lazy. If you want to implement a factory. That may be a good thing, right? But yeah, I think in part because it's a dynamic language, but also because of the syntax, it's probably easier to write what you want, right? You will need less files, less syntax.
Like we create an interface and abstract class, and then some default implementation.
There is a Scala is also so on top of Java, it will give you more flexibility for the language, and you still keep the strong type, right? You still keep static typing with Scala, but it works with type inference, so it will be inferred by the compiler. So you are kind of you are in the middle of the both world. You will still have strong type, but the language will give you more flexibility. So you can try to advocate for Scala in your company.
So in your workday, so what would be the frustrated with the Ruby you are facing?
Yeah, so like some of the points I list is the concurrency model. Like in Java, especially since the last version, you have the feature, the concurrent API is also quite okay. But in Ruby, the way the concurrency model works, it's not, if you want to make something site-safe to use with derivative, for example, it's not direct, it's a bit it's not as advanced as I think the tooling is not as advanced as it is with Java. And the just-in-time compiler, like in Java, if you call a method several times in your class, and the just-in-time compiler, it will optimize. You will put a local variable in your stack, and you don't see it, but it will run fast. It will do a lot of optimization. In Ruby, you don't have that. So if you go several times the same method, it will do it several times. So there is no optimization. So you have to take care of it. So that's frustrating sometimes. Yeah. And yeah, I miss the. I used to do a lot of kind of interface-based programming, and because of the language, it's awkward to have an interface in Ruby. So sometimes I miss that. I miss to have interface and dependency injection, you know.
We don't have to dependency.
You do, because it's a dynamic language, so you can inject whatever you want, but it's so flexible that it's make it less structured than Java.
Okay, so before we end the talk and we go to networking. Đồng ơi, trước khi mà mình bắt đầu networking á, thì bọn mình bên nhóm tổ chức có nhờ